Hello and welcome to today's exploration into a topic that touches every aspect of our lives: self-control. We often hear about superpowers in movies or comics, incredible abilities like flying, invisibility, or mind reading. But in real life, there is a superpower that is just as extraordinary: self-control. It's a power that anyone can develop and use to transform their lives. Today, we're going to slowly, carefully, and clearly unpack what self-control really is, why it is so important, and how understanding it can help us live better, more fulfilling lives. Let's begin by asking a simple question. What exactly is self-control? At its core, self-control is the ability to manage our thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways that align with our long-term goals and values rather than immediate desires or impulses. It is the capacity to pause before acting, to resist temptations, and to keep our attention on what truly matters, even when distractions or difficulties arise. In essence, self-control is about exercising a kind of internal discipline that helps us act with intention and purpose. Philosophers and thinkers have been interested in this concept for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks, for example, placed great value on self-control. The word enkratia, meaning mastery over oneself, was considered a key virtue. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle all believed that living a good and meaningful life required controlling our passions and desires. Aristotle, in particular, taught that self-control is essential for achieving eudaimonia, often translated as flourishing or happiness. For Aristotle, happiness was not a fleeting feeling but a state of living well. Guided by reason and virtue, self-control was the bridge between our rational understanding of what is good and the messy, often emotional realities of our lives. In modern terms, we can think of self-control as a muscle that we can strengthen with practice. Neuroscience confirms this idea. Our brains have regions dedicated to impulse control and decision-making, particularly in the prefrontal cortex. When we exercise self-control, we activate and develop these brain areas, but like a muscle, self-control can also become tired if overused, which explains why it can feel harder to resist temptations after a long day of stress or decision-making. Now you might wonder, why is self-control so important in today's world? Why call it a superpower? The answer lies in how much our modern lives test our ability to control ourselves. We live in an age of distractions, instant gratification, and constant stimulation. Smartphones, social media, endless entertainment options, and advertising all bombard us with temptations designed to capture our attention and desires immediately. It can feel like we're swimming in a sea of urges pulling us in every direction. Yet at the same time, our goals, whether personal, professional, or ethical, often require sustained effort, patience, and delayed gratification. Think about learning a new skill, saving money, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, or building meaningful relationships. These achievements do not happen overnight or by following every impulse. They demand consistent self-control. The great philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that true freedom is not simply doing whatever we want, but acting according to rational principles that we choose for ourselves. In this sense, self-control is not a restriction or a burden. It is the key to genuine freedom. When we can govern ourselves rather than be governed by fleeting desires, we become authors of our own lives. Furthermore, self-control has a profound impact on our well-being. Psychological research consistently shows that people with higher self-control tend to experience better mental health, stronger relationships, and greater success in life. Self-control helps us avoid destructive behaviors, make healthier choices, and navigate social interactions with empathy and respect. It enables us to face challenges without giving in to fear or frustration. But self-control is not about being perfect or suppressing all pleasure. It's about balance and harmony. It's about making choices that serve our deeper values rather than short-term whims. Sometimes that might mean allowing ourselves rest and enjoyment. Other times it might mean saying no to distractions to focus on what truly matters. This idea connects deeply with the Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, who taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses. Their teachings remind us that self-control is about mastering ourselves, especially our emotions and judgments, rather than trying to control the world around us. As we explore this topic, it's important to approach self-control with kindness and patience. It is a skill developed over time, not something we either have or don't have. Everyone struggles with temptation or distraction sometimes, and that's natural. What matters is how we learn from these moments and gently guide ourselves back on course. In the next parts, we will dive deeper into how self-control works in practice, how we can cultivate it in our daily lives, and why embracing this new superpower can lead to a more meaningful and empowered existence. But for now, take a moment to reflect. How do you experience self-control in your life? What areas do you wish you had more mastery over? Understanding where we stand is the first step toward growth. To close this first part, remember that self-control is not about denying ourselves or living in rigid austerity. Instead, it is about recognizing the incredible power we have within to shape our lives with purpose, clarity, and freedom. This inner mastery is the foundation of true strength, not just physical, but mental and moral. Thank you for joining me in this gentle introduction. When you're ready, we will continue this journey together in part 2, where we will explore the science and philosophy behind self-control and practical ways to nurture it in a busy world. In our last part, we introduced the idea of self-control as a powerful force within each of us, an inner superpower that helps us shape our lives with intention and freedom. Now we're going to explore more deeply how self-control works, both from a philosophical perspective and a scientific one. Understanding this will help you see that self-control is not some mysterious trait that only a few possess, but a skill available to everyone, ready to be cultivated and strengthened. Let's begin with the philosophical side. Throughout history, many thinkers have asked, how do we govern ourselves? How do we live in harmony with our desires and reason? One ancient idea is the division between the rational and the appetitive parts of the soul. Plato, for instance, described the human soul as having 3 parts: the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive. The rational part is the thinker, the planner, the part that understands what is good in the long term. The spirited part is the seat of courage and willpower, the energy that supports rational decisions. The appetitive part is where desires and impulses arise: hunger, thirst, pleasure, and so on. According to Plato, a just and well-ordered soul is one where reason rules, supported by spirit, keeping desires in balance. Self-control, then, is the process by which reason guides our actions despite the temptations from our appetites. When this balance is achieved, a person experiences inner harmony and peace. Fast forward to the Stoics, who emphasized a practical approach to self-control. They believed that external events are beyond our control, but our judgments and responses are entirely within our power. This insight is revolutionary because it places the source of freedom and self-mastery squarely within us. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, famously wrote that the mind adapts and converts obstacles into opportunities. This means that through self-control, we can turn challenges into growth, pain into wisdom. On the scientific side, research into self-control has expanded dramatically over the past few decades. Psychologists and neuroscientists study how our brain manages impulses and decision-making. The prefrontal cortex, located at the front of the brain, plays a critical role here. It helps us plan, focus attention, and regulate emotions. When we exercise self-control, this area is active. One important concept is delayed gratification, the ability to wait for a more valuable reward instead of seeking immediate pleasure. You might have heard of the famous marshmallow test, where children were given the choice to eat one marshmallow immediately or wait and receive two later. Those who waited tended to have better life outcomes in terms of health, education, and relationships. This experiment illustrates the power of self-control as a predictor of long-term success. But self-control is not just about resisting temptation, it's also about managing our energy and mindset. Neuroscientist Roy Baumeister described self-control as a limited resource, like a muscle that can get tired after use. This explains why it can feel harder to maintain discipline when we're stressed, tired, or overwhelmed. The good news is that, like a muscle, self-control can be strengthened over time with practice and rest. Another fascinating finding from research is the role of habits in supporting self-control. When we build good habits, certain actions become automatic and require less conscious effort. This is why routines like exercising regularly or eating healthy meals become easier the longer we maintain them. Habits free up mental energy so we can focus our self-control on new or challenging areas. Philosophically, this aligns with Aristotle's idea of virtue ethics, where virtues are habits developed through repeated practice. Self-control is a virtue because it involves forming good habits of managing desires and emotions. By consciously choosing to act in ways that reflect our values, we shape our character and our lives. Let's take a moment to reflect on what this means for us practically. Understanding that self-control involves brain functions, habits, and philosophical principles helps demystify it. It's not about willpower alone or some heroic act of strength. It's about small, consistent choices that add up over time. For example, imagine you want to improve your health. You might start by deciding to drink more water or take a short walk each day. At first, it may feel like a struggle to resist less healthy habits. But as you repeat these actions, they become easier, even natural. Your brain builds new pathways and your habits support your goals. In this process, self-awareness plays a vital role. Paying attention to when and why we lose control helps us identify triggers and create strategies to avoid or manage them. It might mean changing our environment, like putting away snacks if we're trying to eat healthier, or setting reminders to stay focused on tasks. Welcome back for the final part of our exploration into self-control as the new superpower. So far, we've understood what self-control is, why it's so important, and how it works in our minds and lives. Now the exciting question: how can we cultivate this powerful ability in our everyday lives? How can we turn the idea of self-control into a real living force that helps us meet challenges, reach goals, and find greater peace? The good news is that self-control is a skill, not a fixed trait. It grows with intentional practice, like learning to play an instrument or improving at a sport. Building self-control takes patience, kindness toward ourselves, and consistent effort. Let's explore practical steps that anyone can take to develop self-control and make it a dependable part of life. First, start by clarifying your values and goals. Self-control works best when it is connected to what truly matters to you. Take a moment to reflect on your deepest priorities, whether that's health, relationships, creativity, or personal growth. When your actions align with your values, motivation comes naturally and self-control feels more meaningful rather than like a chore. Next, break big goals into small, manageable steps. This approach reduces overwhelm and makes self-control feel achievable. For example, if your goal is to get fit, rather than trying to overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight, begin with just 10 minutes of walking a day or drinking an extra glass of water. These small wins build momentum and strengthen your confidence. Creating supportive environments is another key practice. Our surroundings influence our behaviors more than we often realize. If you want to eat healthier, keep nutritious foods visible and tempting treats out of sight. If focus is your goal, minimize distractions by turning off notifications or working in a quiet space. By shaping your environment, you reduce the number of decisions you need to make, conserving your self-control for moments that really count. Mindfulness, or paying gentle attention to your thoughts and feelings in the present moment, is a powerful tool for self-control. When you become aware of impulses as they arise, whether it's an urge to check your phone or eat a snack, you create a space to choose how to respond rather than reacting automatically. This pause is where self-control lives. Practicing mindfulness through meditation, breathing exercises, or simple awareness in daily activities strengthens this ability over time. Another important practice is managing stress and fatigue. Self-control relies on mental energy, and when we're exhausted or overwhelmed, it's harder to stay disciplined. Prioritize good sleep, balanced nutrition, and regular rest. When stress mounts, try calming techniques like deep breathing, gentle movement, or spending time in nature. Taking care of your physical and emotional well-being provides the foundation for stronger self-control. Learning to reframe challenges can also enhance self-control. Instead of seeing temptation or difficulty as a threat or failure, view them as opportunities to grow your inner strength. Every time you resist an urge or make a healthy choice, you are training your brain and character. Celebrate these moments quietly, recognizing your progress rather than dwelling on slips. It's also helpful to plan for setbacks. No one maintains perfect self-control all the time. When you expect that challenges will arise, you can prepare strategies to deal with them. This might mean having a backup plan, seeking support from friends, or forgiving yourself quickly and recommitting to your goals. Resilience, the ability to bounce back, is a vital part of self-control. Philosophically, cultivating self-control is about becoming a better steward of your life. It's about recognizing your freedom to choose how to respond to life's demands and temptations. This awareness empowers you to live with greater authenticity and integrity. As the Stoics taught, it's not about controlling the world, but mastering yourself. Remember, self-control is not a restrictive cage, but a key to freedom. It frees you from being ruled by fleeting desires, helping you focus on what brings lasting fulfillment. It strengthens your ability to pursue meaningful goals and to act in ways that reflect your true self. As you move forward, be patient with yourself. Growth is a journey, not a race. Each day offers new chances to practice self-control in small ways, building your superpower gradually and sustainably. Trust the process and honor your progress. To close, I invite you to take one small action today that exercises your self-control. It could be as simple as pausing before responding to a difficult email, choosing a healthy snack, or spending 5 minutes in mindful breathing. Notice how it feels to take that moment of choice and control. Thank you for joining me on this journey to understand and cultivate self-control. Remember, this inner power is available to all of us. It is the new superpower that shapes not only our individual lives, but also how we engage with the world around us. I hope this exploration inspires you to see self-control not as a struggle, but as a path to freedom, strength, and a life lived with intention. Take care, and until next time.